3 seconds. That's all it takes for a room to completely turn against you. But what if I told you that those same 3 seconds could be all you need to own any room you walk into? What you're about to learn took me 15 years of embarrassing mistakes, countless social disasters, and finally, a breakthrough that changed everything. This isn't just another video about body language or social skills. This is about developing a superpower that less than 1% of people have mastered: the ability to read a room like a book. And in the next 20 minutes, we're going to learn exactly how the masters do it. But first, let me tell you about the day a businessman lost $1 million deal in exactly 3 seconds, and how it taught me the most valuable lesson about reading rooms that no one talks about. It was a Tuesday morning in downtown Manhattan. He was 26, wearing his first real suit, and about to walk into the biggest meeting of his career. What happened next became a legendary story in the company, but not for the reasons he hoped. The elevator ride to the 47th floor felt like an eternity. The presentation was perfect. His numbers were solid. He had rehearsed this pitch 100 times. But the moment he walked into that boardroom, he made 3 crucial mistakes that every social genius would have spotted instantly. Mistakes that would have been obvious if he had known what to look for. But before I tell you what those mistakes were, and how they led to the most uncomfortable 30 minutes of his life, can you think about your own room reading moments? Have you ever walked into a situation and immediately felt something was off, but couldn't quite put your finger on what it was? That gut feeling isn't random. It's your brain processing dozens of subtle signals that you've been trained to ignore. By the end of this video, you'll not only know exactly what those signals are, but you'll be able to spot them instantly. You'll understand the hidden patterns that social geniuses see automatically. And most importantly, you'll never have to experience what happened to that businessman in that boardroom. Here's what he saw when he walked in: 6 people seated around a massive mahogany table. 5 men, 1 woman. All of them wore dark suits, perfectly pressed. Standard corporate scene, right? Wrong. Within 3 seconds, he completely misread 3 critical signals that any social genius would have spotted instantly. And these same signals are probably affecting your social and professional life right now, without you even realizing it. The first mistake: he focused on the wrong person. He had done his homework. He knew the chief investment officer, let's call him Mark, was the decision maker. He was the one he needed to convince. So naturally, he directed his entire presentation toward him. But he missed something. While Mark sat at the head of the table, everyone's body language was subtly oriented toward the woman sitting in the middle of the table. Their laptops were angled slightly toward her. When she shifted in her chair, 3 people immediately adjusted their posture. She wasn't just another executive. She was what we call a shadow authority, someone whose opinion carries more weight than their title suggests. He later learned she'd been with the company for 25 years and had spotted every bad investment before it happened. This brings us to our first principle of reading the room. Power isn't about position. It's about attention flow. In any room, look for these 3 patterns. 1. Who do people physically orient themselves toward? 2. Who gets subtle glances of confirmation after speaking? 3. Who can interrupt without creating tension? But the businessman's $1 million mistake was just beginning. The second signal he missed was even more costly: that he walked in with high energy, ready to deliver a passionate presentation. After all, enthusiasm sells, right? But the room's energy was completely different. They'd just come from another meeting, one where they'd had to fire a longtime employee. The emotional temperature was low, contemplative, almost somber. His upbeat energy didn't just fail to lift the room. It created emotional friction. Every smile, every enthusiastic gesture, every attempt at light humor, it all just highlighted how completely he'd misread the atmosphere. This brings us to our second principle. Energy matching is more important than energy raising. Think about it like walking into someone's home. If everyone's speaking in hushed tones, you naturally lower your voice. It's instinctive. But in professional settings, we often override these instincts. We stick to our script. We try to lift the energy. And sometimes that's exactly what costs us the room. The third signal was the one that sealed his fate. And it's something I see people miss every single day: that he noticed everyone had water glasses in front of them. Nobody was drinking. What he didn't notice was that none of them had touched their phones either. In a room full of executives, not one glance at a device. This wasn't just focus, this was tension. Something was wrong. Later, he found out they just discovered a major problem with their last investment. They weren't looking for new opportunities, they were in crisis mode. His entire presentation was solving the wrong problem. This brings us to our third and most crucial principle. Behavioral unanimity is often a warning sign. When everyone in a room is doing the same thing, or notably not doing something, it's rarely random. It's usually a response to unexpressed tension, unspoken agreements, underlying conflicts. After losing that deal, he became obsessed with understanding what social geniuses see that the rest of us miss. He interviewed hostage negotiators, veteran diplomats, legendary salespeople, and world-class therapists. It seemed all of them used the same 7 patterns to read rooms instantly. 7 patterns that anyone can learn. 7 patterns that, once you see them, you can never unsee. And in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly what they are. Note that reading the room isn't just about physical rooms. It's about any situation where humans interact. A Zoom call, a family dinner, a comment section, even a text message thread. The principles are exactly the same. Now let me show you what I mean with this. Pattern number 1, the energy cascade. So let's imagine a group chat is buzzing with excitement about weekend plans. Everyone's sending party emojis, suggesting wild ideas. Then someone drops a message: "My grandmother just passed away." But the next person, who hasn't caught up on the messages, sends, "Let's get wasted." We've all been that person, the one who missed the energy shift. But fascinatingly, energy shifts follow predictable patterns. They cascade through groups like waves, and if you know what to look for, you can spot them before anyone else. Watch for these 3 signals: sudden changes in response time, shifts in language complexity, changes in personal pronoun use, When people switch from we to I in conversation, it's often the first sign that group energy is fragmenting. Social geniuses spot these shifts instantly and adjust their approach before anyone else even notices something's changed. Pattern number 2, the hidden hierarchy. You still remember the boardroom story at the beginning of the video, right? Well, here's an even better example. A friend of mine lost his dream job because he didn't spot the hidden hierarchy in a Discord server. He was applying to a gaming company and joined their community server. He spent weeks impressing the admins with his ideas, but he completely ignored the quiet moderator who barely posted, who turned out to be the lead developer. See, hierarchies aren't about titles anymore. They're about influence patterns, and they exist everywhere, from TikTok comments to family WhatsApp groups. Here's what social geniuses look for. Who gets responded to fastest? Whose jokes always get acknowledgement? Who can change the subject successfully? The most powerful person in any social situation often has the least to prove. Pattern number 3, the context clock. This one's subtle but crucial. Every social situation has its own temporal rhythm, its own unwritten schedule of when certain things become appropriate. Let me give you an example that cost someone their relationship. A guy decided to propose to his girlfriend at her sister's baby shower. On paper, it made sense. Whole family was there, happy occasion, lots of cameras ready. But he completely misread the context clock. His partner and others was mad about him trying to steal someone else's time to shine. Social geniuses understand that timing isn't just about picking a good moment. It's about understanding the emotional schedule of a situation. They instinctively know when to introduce new topics, when to let tensions settle, when to shift energy levels. Pattern number 4, the permission bridge. Ever notice how some people can say almost anything to anyone, while others can't seem to make the simplest request without creating awkwardness? The difference isn't charm or charisma. It's their ability to build what I call permission bridges. Take the scenario. 2 employees want to pitch an idea to their boss. First employee dives straight in. We need to change our entire marketing strategy. Instant resistance. Second employee says, would you be open to looking at some market research I found interesting? Same message, completely different response. Permission bridges have 3 parts. The approach signal, showing you recognize the current situation. The alignment confirmation, making sure it's the right time. The permission request, getting buy-in before proceeding. Master this pattern, and you'll never have to worry about picking the right moment again. Pattern number 5, the emotional undertow. Think of emotions in a group like currents in an ocean. What you see on the surface isn't always what's moving underneath. And just like real undertows, swimming against them is exhausting and usually pointless. Here's a perfect example. A few months ago, a guy went viral for all the wrong reasons. During an online gaming tournament with a $50,000 prize pool, he started trash talking after winning a match. Normal for gaming, right? Except he completely missed the emotional undertow. What he didn't know was that his opponent had just announced before the match that this was his last tournament. He was quitting to care for his sick mother. The gaming community was in a celebratory but bittersweet mood, honoring a beloved player's final games. His trash talk didn't just fall flat. It created a wave of backlash that ended with him losing his sponsorships. Social geniuses understand that group emotions have 3 layers. The visible layer, what people show. The social layer, what people feel comfortable expressing. The true layer, what people are actually feeling. The key is spotting the disconnects between these layers. When someone's laughing, but their friends are exchanging glances, that's a layer mismatch. When everyone's agreeing enthusiastically, but nobody's taking action. Layer mismatch. Pattern number 6, the echo point. Ever notice how some comments or actions seem to bounce around a group, gaining or losing energy with each reflection? That's what I call the echo point. Let's say, a family gathering. Someone makes a joke about cousin Sarah's new job. Nobody laughs much. But then someone mentions Uncle Bob's business. The room erupts. That's an echo point revealing what the group really cares about. Fascinating thing about it is echo points don't just amplify, they transform. Like a game of telephone, each reaction adds a layer of meaning. I watched a masterclass on this recently. During a company all-hands meeting on Zoom, the CEO announced budget cuts. One employee posted a seemingly innocent emoji in the chat. Within seconds, that single emoji spawned variations, creating a whole shadow conversation about the announcement, without anyone saying a word. Social geniuses watch for which topics generate increasing responses, how reactions evolve as they spread, where the energy dies out. Think of it like walking into a room where a couple just had a fight. Even if they're acting normal, you can feel that tension, right? That's an emotional echo, and it exists in every social situation. Pattern number 7, the adaptation window. This is the pattern that ties everything together. Every social situation has a window of time where adaptation is expected and accepted. Miss that window, and you're playing catch up for the rest of the interaction. You know that one friend who always seems to say the wrong thing? They're usually not wrong about what to say, they're wrong about when to say it. Understanding what's not being said. Think about the last time you were in a group setting where everyone was carefully avoiding a specific topic. That elephant in the room? It's actually having a conversation, just not with words. A classic example, a family gathering where nobody mentions Uncle Bob's new girlfriend, who's half his age. The invisible conversation is probably not just about the age gap. It's about family values, change, judgment, and acceptance. Social geniuses can read these invisible conversations like a book. They notice topics people actively navigate around, unfinished sentences that others quickly fill, shared glances during certain subjects, the spaces between responses, and many more. The adaptation window has 3 critical phases. The opening, when people are forming first impressions. The testing, when small adjustments are natural. The settling, when behavioral patterns become expected. Miss the opening, and you're fighting uphill. Miss the testing phase, and you're stuck with whatever impression you made. Miss the settling phase, and you become the person who just doesn't get it. But here's the game-changing insight. Adaptation windows reset whenever context shifts significantly. New project, new window. Team restructure, new window. Even a change in communication platform can reset a window. Social geniuses don't just read the room. They read these windows of opportunity. They know exactly when to adapt and, just as importantly, when adaptation will be costly. What's really interesting about these 7 patterns is, once you start seeing them, you can't unsee them. They show up everywhere. In your relationships, your work, your social media interactions, even in how you talk to yourself. The question is, now that you know these patterns exist, what will you do differently? How will you use this knowledge to navigate your world more effectively? Before we learn about mastering of these patterns, look back at the last time you completely misread a situation. Which of these patterns do you think you missed? Drop a comment below. I bet you'll start seeing them everywhere. Now, here's where we make all of this immediately useful. Because understanding patterns is one thing, applying them in real time is another. Let's see exactly how to use these patterns in 3 crucial areas: recovery, prevention, and mastery. Let's start with something everyone needs: the recovery protocol. We all mess up. We all misread situations. The difference between social geniuses and everyone else isn't that they never make mistakes. It's that they recover so smoothly that their mistakes become opportunities. Here's the 3-step recovery method that never fails. First, the reset pause. When you realize you've misread a situation, your instinct is to keep talking, to explain, to fix it immediately. Don't. Instead, take what I call a reset pause. A moment of silence that acts like a social palate cleanser. Watch how this played out in a viral TikTok live stream. A creator was doing their usual high-energy performance when they suddenly noticed their chat filling with news about a tragedy. Instead of awkwardly transitioning or apologizing extensively, they took a clear pause, adjusted their energy, and simply said, "Let's take a moment." That pause did more than any words could. Second, the alignment confirmation. After your pause, confirm the actual emotional temperature of the situation. But the trick is not asking about it directly. Instead, reflect what you're observing. Instead of, "Did I say something wrong?" try, "I sense I might have misread the energy here." This subtle difference is crucial. The first puts pressure on others to explain. The second shows awareness and opens the door for realignment. Third, the redirection bridge. Most get this part wrong. They try to pretend the misread never happened, or worse, overcorrect so dramatically that it creates a second awkward moment. Instead, use what I call a redirection bridge. Acknowledge the shift naturally, then guide the interaction toward a more appropriate energy level or topic. Here's a masterclass example. During a live news interview, a reporter made a jokey comment, not realizing the person they were interviewing had just shared something deeply personal. Then they recovered by saying, "You know, what you just shared actually deserves more attention than I initially gave it. Could you tell us more about that experience?" Simple, authentic, effective. But what's even better than a perfect recovery? Prevention. This is where the real magic happens.